Hello everyone, and welcome to this short webinar, Finding Evaluation Contracts in Europe, a practical guide for policy evaluators. I'm pleased to share with you how evaluation professionals like yourselves can navigate tender opportunities across Europe. Over the next 10 minutes we'll cover 5 key parts. First, we'll clarify what a tender is versus a grant. Then we'll walk through where to find relevant tenders, how to search them effectively, share some practical tips for first-time bidders, and finish with a brief action checklist. Let's begin. It's important to begin by clarifying the difference between a grant and a tender, because many evaluators are familiar with grants but less so with tenders. A grant is essentially funding awarded to carry out a project. You apply, you receive a sum of money, you implement, you report. On the other hand, a tender means a public body or organization issues a procurement notice because it wants to buy a service, for example, monitoring and evaluation, policy analysis, research studies. You submit a bid, and if successful, you sign a contract and deliver the service. From your perspective as an evaluator, tender contracts are often easier to align with consultancy work. You are offering your service, rather than designing and managing a full project funded by grant. So throughout this webinar, when we talk about tenders, we mean service procurement opportunities, relevant for evaluation and policy analysis. Let's look at the primary portals, where you can find evaluation tenders. First, TED, the Tenders Electronic Daily Portal, which publishes procurement notices from EU public buyers. Second, the EU Funding and Tenders Portal, which covers service contracts and procurement by EU institutions and bodies. Third, the UNDP Procurement Portal. Though global in scope, many evaluation/consultancy notices appear, including in Europe, or involving European firms. We will demo each of these. Then I'll mention briefly a fourth, the European Investment Bank Procurement Portal. Let's go into TED first. Here's how to navigate TED, the European Union's public procurement platform. Start by visiting the website. On the homepage, click Advanced Search. By default, the search scope is set to active notices, meaning you'll only see tenders that are currently open for submission. Then click Search to view the results. On the left-hand side of the results page, you'll see several filters that allow you to refine your search. You can filter by business opportunity, such as competition, results, or planning. Under CPV, or Common Procurement Vocabulary, you can browse specific sectors such as agriculture and food, finance and related services, or research and management, among many others. Let's take a closer look at the research and management category. Under Nature of Contract, select Services. This category includes activities like consultancy, training, and research, rather than the supply of physical goods or construction works. Next, under Place of Performance, you can choose where the contract will take place. This field defines the geographical location of the project or service delivery. If you'd like to see tenders open to bidders from any location, choose Anywhere. You can also refine your search by publication date or by the country of the buyer. For this example, let's select the European Union. At the top of your results page, you'll see a summary of all your active filters. Scrolling down, you can now view the list of tenders that match your criteria. Let's open one example. Here you can immediately see the title of the call, the place of performance, and the estimated value of the contract. If you scroll further, you'll find additional details such as the description of the project, its duration, the deadline for submission, and other important specifications. Returning to the main search page, you can always modify the criteria you've set. For instance, you might change the place of performance from Anywhere to in a specific country, and then select your country of interest, for example, Poland. Once updated, the system will display all tenders matching your new settings, allowing you to focus only on relevant opportunities. Checking the platform regularly is also important, since new opportunities are published every day across the European Union and associated countries. And that's it. This is how you can efficiently navigate TED, refine your searches, and identify the most relevant opportunities for your field. The EU Funding and Tenders Portal is the central platform where all EU funding opportunities and public procurements are published. Let's take a look at how we can find the latest tenders. In the top menu bar, under Procurement, click on Calls for Tenders. Here you can type a keyword, such as evaluation, since our interest lies in evaluation service contracts. You can also use the filters on the left-hand side, for example by contracting authority, procedure type, publication date, or closing date. Under Submission Status, make sure to select Open for Submission to see the tenders that are currently active. You can also apply more specific filters, such as CPV, common procurement vocabulary, codes, or estimated contract value. Let's take a look at the research and development field as an example. Click View Results, and here you can browse through the tenders that might be relevant for you. If you click on a specific tender, you can view a detailed description, the estimated value, and other key information about the call. Don't forget to sign in to the portal with your EU login account. This allows you to save your searches, enable notifications, and even submit your application directly through the portal. Now a quick look at 2 additional useful portals. First, the United Nations Development Programme, UNDP Procurement Notices Portal. Although it is global, you do see calls for consultancy, evaluation and policy assessments. For example, national or regional evaluations where European firms may bid. Second, the European Investment Bank, EIB procurement page. Here you find calls for technical assistance, service contracts, and evaluation linked to investment projects. While we won't do a full demo of these in this short webinar, please note them as part of your watch list. Here are some practical tips for effective searching. First, keywords. Use terms like evaluation, monitoring and evaluation, impact study, policy review. Try combinations, and include synonyms, for example, study or assessment. Second, use CPV codes. The Common Procurement Vocabulary is the EU's classification system for contract subjects. We will provide a short list of relevant codes in the next slide. Third, save your search filters and set alerts so you don't miss new opportunities. Fourth, when you find a relevant notice, don't wait. Review the deadline, submission format, and eligibility requirements immediately. And finally, subscribe to portal newsletters or RSS feeds, if available, to stay systematically informed. I want to highlight an important tool specifically for working with TED and other EU procurement notices, Common Procurement Vocabulary, or CPV codes. These codes classify the contract subject, and using them helps ensure you find exactly the right type of tenders, particularly in evaluation and consultancy domains. Here are some of the most relevant CPV codes for our work: 793111000. Research and related consultancy services, 793133000. Business and management consultancy, 7934000. Management consulting services, 794100000. Professional services, 799300000. Services related to training and coaching, and 981000000. Services not elsewhere specified. These codes can be applied in combination with your keywords. You can also explore subcodes in the 793 and 794 ranges if you want more granularity, depending on the focus of the tender. It's good practice to verify each CPV code in the tender notice to make sure it matches the evaluation component you are aiming for. For those new to tendering in the evaluation domain, here are some practical tips. Consider starting as a partner or subcontractor in a consortium, rather than leading the tender immediately. That allows you to build experience. Prepare a strong tender CV or capability statement. Highlight your evaluation assignments, methodologies used, countries, clients. Collect references and sample evaluation report extracts, respecting confidentiality. Ensure you check eligibility. Some contracts require a registered company, not only an individual, or ability to work internationally. Also note thresholds. For example, many service contracts at EU level must reach over €143,000 before they must be published on TED. So aim both above and below this value. Some national portals differ. Make sure your pricing and resourcing are credible, deadlines are strictly met, and documentation, legal entity forms, bank account files, is ready. Before we move forward, let me highlight a very important point: expectation management for newcomers. Many evaluation tenders, especially those published by EU institutions, are quite large. They may cover the entire EU 27 and require substantial teams and expertise. These contracts are usually delivered by established consortia of universities or consultancy firms, often experienced in managing complex multi-country evaluations. So if you are at an earlier career stage, for example a PhD researcher or early career evaluator, do not prepare a full tender alone for such opportunities. Instead, your most realistic and valuable contribution is to join a consortium as a national expert, providing contextual knowledge, local data collection, stakeholder engagement, and interpretation of findings. By understanding the tender process, and by having the exact tender reference, you can respond confidently when a consortium invites you to join, and proactively reach out to organizations you see as likely leaders. This approach helps you enter the tender world step by step, without unrealistic expectations, while gradually building your track record. Let's end with a short action checklist. First, register or log in at both TED and the EU Funding and Tenders portal. Second, set up at least 2 saved searches with your selected keywords and filters. Third, pick 3 CPV codes relevant to your evaluation/analysis domain. Use the list we shared earlier. Fourth, prepare or refresh your documentation. A tender capability CV, sample evaluation reports, legal entity registration, bank account info ready. Fifth, commit to a weekly 30-minute session where you scan new opportunities and mark ones to respond to. By doing this systematic approach, you move from passive waiting to proactive tender hunt. Thank you for your attention. With the approach we have described, tender versus grant clarification, key portals, search tips, and practical actions, you are better equipped to find evaluation contract opportunities across Europe. If you have any questions, feel free to contact us.